Hello, everybody. Today's guest is Sheena Badani. Sheena is on a mission to help parents create lasting connection with their kids through simple structure. To do that, she's created Parint. That's Parint. She's also a mother of three. This is a really great conversation. We talk about how to make parenting more science than art, the main skills that parents want to cultivate and how to cultivate them, as well as advice on work life balance and how to cultivate certain traits in our own kids. My name is Anthony Franzese. You're listening to the Successful Working Parents podcast, where we talk to working parents about how they're able to balance it all and still thrive. By the way, next week, we're back with another movie review. We're talking about Inside Out 2, which really, really got me. Love that movie. First time I saw it. So make sure you watch the movie before the episode and enjoy the conversation. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe. Anyway, on to the show. Welcome back to the Successful Working Parents podcast, a podcast where we talk to successful working parents, title pending. My guest today, she is the founder of Parint. That's Parint, mother of three. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheena Badani. Sheena, welcome to the show.
Hi, great to see you, and nice to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today. So, if you would please just share a little background on your career.
Yeah, happy to do that. I have spent the majority of my career working in high tech. I think there's a variety of reasons for that. First of all, I spent kind of my college years in the Bay Area and then moved to San Francisco. So it was just like surrounded by innovation and high tech software, all of that. So that was really influential in the early days of my career. And then even once I got into it, I think I just loved the pace and there was constant change. You really couldn't sit back working in high tech. So I really enjoyed that. And again, the most of the companies that I have worked for were really in the early days when they were just getting off the ground. Most of them were, had been at product market fit, and then they were scaling. And that's kind of when I came in. So think of companies like LinkedIn, MongoDB, Gong. I was there at these companies when they were all like a couple hundred employees, which was a very exciting time. And then, career wise, that gives you a lot of opportunity to just explore different roles, explore different projects. You get a tremendous amount of visibility to executives and to problem solving and to, just like helping to get your hands dirty and create and come up with whatever the business needs. And so I loved that. I loved all of that. And I think there were parts of my career where I was like, hey, I want to go earlier and earlier. And I want to just get to those, really get to the ground and building, because I think I've always had an interest in starting my own thing. And, from when I was young, and I did that in, different ways, whether it was like through nonprofits and charitable routes. And I kind of, if I look back at my career, I think like the thing that is like the line through it was, or the maybe like the aspiration that I had was to really like build a set of experiences that are going to help me set up to start my own company one day. So I've worked in product, I've worked in marketing, in sales, and all these different functions and strategy. That's where I started my career. And so, sometimes like when you're in the thick of it, or if you're at a corporate job, it can often feel like, oh, am I doing this right? Because I may be quote unquote like jumping around, or I'm building, what folks would say to me was this like a generalist skill set.
Yeah.
And I kind of always thought of that as like, hey, that's like a bonus, right? I'm actually able to like look at things from a lot of different perspectives. And like now, having started my own company, I think it's only a benefit that I have explored and experienced those different aspects of working at a company.
Sure. Tell us a little bit more about your role as a parent.
Yeah. So, sorry, just to clarify, at my company Parint. You want me to go into that part a little bit?
No, you have three kids.
Oh, as a parent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as a parent. We're going to have to delineate somehow between parent and parent.
exactly. um, so I am a mom of three. I have three kids. They're all school aged between 7 and 12 years old. And my husband also works. So we're, a typical like dual income family. And a few years ago, we also moved to a new city. We're in San Diego now, but we don't have a lot of family close by. We didn't necessarily have a built-in community. So that came with its own set of challenges also, was living in a place without like that go-to of who's going to come over and babysit. So I think when I look at my role as a parent, I think there's like a couple different things. I think like one is am I setting my kids up to be successful when they leave the home? So when they're 18 plus, are they going to have the set of life skills, experiences? Like, are they going to be just good humans that other people want to be around?
Mhm.
Like, that's really how I see myself as like influencing their life. And how can I make an impact on them in the years that they're spending the most time with me? And then secondly, I think a lot of the as a parent, you are dealing with the day to day. Like that's just a given. So I have to, like, just like a manager at a company, you are pulling together the set of resources, the people, you're building that community, that village, all the tools that you need to make your job as a parent happen. So some of that is like, hey, what do I do myself? Who can I maybe hire to help in some of those areas? Who are friends and family that can support in those areas? So I'm kind of like building that infrastructure, you could say, to make my life as easy as possible, which is not easy by any means, as any parent would attest to.
Sure. What comes to mind when you think about making sure your kids are good humans when they leave the house? And what does that mean to you? And how are you trying your best to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's nothing that you can avoid these days, right? Like you turn on the news, you watch social media, you kind of go down that rabbit hole, like you'll see pretty horrible things out there. And it's scary. It's scary to raise a child who you have such a tremendous amount of influence over and you're like, I just don't want my kid to turn out in that direction, right?
Mhm.
And you want them to, take care of themselves, take care of others, leave a mark in the world in their own way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes down to like the character skills that they're developing. Like, are they kind? Are they responsible? Are they going to be generous human beings? Are they going to be independent and be able to do things on their own? So I think like one aspect is really like around those character skills. And those are things like if you think about it, the way that the world is going now with technology, with AI, you have a lot of roles that we don't even know what the future of work is going to look like in 20, 30 years. The things
Totally. I mean, 10 years.
in maybe 10 years, exactly. It's
Yeah.
moving so fast. So, like, the things that we have been doing or the things that we focused on as kids, like, I grew up in an immigrant household. Like, I had to go to Kumon every week and do, like, rote memorization of math. I took piano, which I probably hated, and it was like, oh, because it's good for brain development. And yeah, there may be some truth to that, but maybe not also. But there were a lot of these things that like I spent like time and energy doing, which may be irrelevant in some number of years. And on the other hand, I think it's going to be a lot of these skills that even the workplace is going to look for when they hire someone. Like, is this person that I'm hiring somebody who has high integrity? Are they honest? Are they somebody that we want to spend time with?
Yeah.
Not to say that companies are not hiring and looking for a lot of those skills today, but oftentimes it does come down to like who has like expertise in certain areas, whether it's like in finance or coding or sales or this and that. And as we know, a lot of those things are getting gobbled up by AI.
Yeah.
So there's of course like that personal desire to raise a child who's going to be a good person in this world, but then there's also I think like almost like a business need for why this should happen.
Yeah. It's funny. I also think a lot about how much influence we have over our kids, but I think a lot about it like, I just don't want to fuck them up, right? Like,
Exactly,
you
exactly.
could really sway their psyche so much. And sure, you want them to be good. I guess it's the flip side of it, right? You want them to be good people, but I just don't want to cause any trauma that that they really haven't worked through.
Totally, totally. And we all come with our own set of experiences, like from our own childhood. And I actually encourage everyone to like spend a little bit of time doing this. Of like, think of those moments like when you were a kid, whatever memories you have,
Yeah.
and the values or like how you were raised. What were those like elements that your family like, kind of brought to life in your childhood?
Mhm.
And you probably have a way to bucket some of those things. There's the things that you definitely want to keep. Maybe there's like traditions or there's like aspects of your culture or morals that your parents taught you definitely want to keep. And then there's like a bucket of things that you definitely don't want to instill in your kids because the world has changed or you and your spouse have created a different culture for your family. There may be some that are a question mark and you're still figuring it out and that's totally fine. But I think some of those are the things that ultimately if we look at our own childhood and raising up and the things that we dreaded or the things that are still causing us pain today, how can we let some of that go and like just do it differently for our kids?
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Parent, the company, Parint. So last time you and I were talking, you were sharing with me your experiences at Gong quantifying sales. And I'm very familiar with Gong being in the sales world. Uh, Quantifying sales kind of led you on this journey of trying to maybe quantify parenting and bring more science than art into it. And I think that's really interesting. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and where it's at today.
Yeah, happy to share. And I think that's exactly right. I think all those experiences that I had in the professional world and kind of ending up at Gong, um, it showed me that like there's really a way that corporations and companies have brought structure to work. So if you think about um,
And just, I'm sorry, really quick, like 30 seconds of what Gong is.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So Gong is a sales intelligence company or revenue intelligence company. They provide insights on like what's working best within your sales cycle. So what are your
Yeah.
best reps saying? Where in your deal is there risk? And then provide kind of guidance on how to overcome that. So your
Yeah.
entire team.
It records like the whole sales call and then kind of breaks down for you
Exactly.
what went well, what we could do better, and kind of some statistics on each rep.
Exactly. So some people have thought of Gong as almost like a sales coach because we're taking it, ingesting this data, and then providing like guidance on what to do next. Kind of similarly, parenting is almost like a black box. You become a parent one day, you may have read some books, and it just like kind of goes in one, goes in your head and then goes out because it's overwhelming and there's a lot of information. And ultimately, you're just like kind of flying by the seat of your pants and figuring things out as you're going. You can also be like really inundated with a tremendous amount of information online, social media that makes it worse. It makes you like feel like you're maybe not doing enough. I know a lot of parents feel a sense of guilt that, oh my God, am I supposed to be doing all these different things that these influencers are doing on Instagram? And like that's also unrealistic, and you should not feel that way. So how I felt was that there was really an opportunity to show parents that the activities and the set of things that you're doing are enough and you're on the right track. However, parents don't necessarily know what those set of things should be because every stage of parenting is also so different. So, how can we proactively kind of design this roadmap for parents of these are the things that you should be doing in order to set up yourself as a parent for success so that you're not overwhelmed and you feel that you've made good progress, and also that you're setting up your kids for success for again kind of the future state when they're adults. So that's kind of how I kind of came across this opportunity to build in the parenting space, that really there's an opportunity to bring a lot more structure to parenting in a way that is going to set parents up for success. So that's kind of where the concept came up from. I've been working on it now for the last 7, 8 months. I left Gong and I've been focusing on building full time. I'm still in the early days, so it's really it's kind of been a series of experiments and putting things out in market to see like what's resonating, what are the areas that parents could use some of that more structure and guidance on. Kind of like rewinding a couple of those things that I've learned and where we are today. One of the areas, even as a parent, that I have learned, if you want a quick fix, quote unquote, quick fix to something that's happening with you and your kids, maybe they're throwing a lot of tantrums or you feel disconnected or they're saying, I hate you, mommy, for something, they're often craving for time and attention. And so often the best solution to that is getting really quality one on one time with your kid. But we're busy, we work, we do a million other things. So that quality time, it just falls by the wayside. So the first thing I went out to market with was how can I help parents ensure that they get that quality time with their kids? And so I started with actually targeting dads and creating these really unique experiences called Dad Ventures. So it was really a personalized dad date. What I
Love
learned
it.
was that, yeah, parents crave it. They want that structure. They want that sense of accountability. And oftentimes they just, hand me the thing, tell me what to do, and then I'll go do it because I have 55 other things on my plate that I need to do today. So that was kind of the first few months. And I'm kind of coming out of that phase and actually learned, of course, a bunch more and now have a new offering in the market, which is kind of goes back to that structure. So I provide a monthly plan for parents to help them instill a certain life skill or a value with their kid. And so I design a personalized plan, which includes conversations, activities, a parent child date that all tie back to something super important to you. So like we were talking about generosity or responsibility, independence. So we craft that whole month. So these are the set of things that I need to do, and you can really feel good at the end of the month that, like, hey, we spent a whole month talking about independence, and my kid and I, we did these, like, 10 plus different things together. So you feel a set of progress, like you're working on the things that are important for you. So that's that. I call it a Thrive Guide, and that's the latest thing that I have out in market with customers right now.
Awesome. So in the vein of learning from data, right? Gong takes the data of somebody like me on a sales call and ties it to performance, and then can make
Yeah,
some suggestions and some generalizations about salespeople.
yeah,
Where are you trying to get some of your data from?
yeah. That's a great question, because typically it's been pretty. It's really subjective. You could say parenting, right? You're not like exactly measuring your parenting in any kind of way,
Yeah.
and it's a balance, because there is a human and emotional aspect to parenting. So you never want to feel robotic around it. So that is something to balance throughout all of this.
Yeah.
The ways that I have been measuring or kind of like bringing data to the parenting experience, one are those quality connection moments. So the frequency of those and how often you're able to do those. So that could be a parent child date, but it could also be just like 5 minutes at bedtime where you're talking about something fun that your kid did at school that day, right? Like you're hearing them out. So just getting those quality connection moments that are device free, and you're hopefully not thinking about your next task at work. Um, and then the number of like memories that are created, so special and unique memories. That's another way to just measure the things that you're doing with your kid, and the impact and the things that they're going to remember again in the future. When I look back, like on my own childhood, there are those things that stand out. Like when my dad took me to San Francisco just to get clam chowder one time. Those standout moments that you're like, that you, even as a kid, you realize like that was something different and special that my parent did with me, and you as a result felt unique and special. You got that quality time together.
Yeah.
Um, so those are a couple, but then there's also, of course, a parenting is a relationship. You have the parent, you have the kid. So there's other aspects related to the strength of the relationship. There's other aspects related to the kid. What are those certain skills that they're demonstrating? So if we were talking about responsibility, you as a parent, like, are you actually doing the things to role model it and instill it? And then as for the child, how are they demonstrating it? So there's a lot of different ways to measure parenting, and it's an interesting challenge that I'm continuing to work through.
What are you seeing as far as like demand or requests? Like now you have these skills that you're helping parents to develop. Are there any that overwhelmingly parents seem to want to try to cultivate in their kids more than others, or memories they're trying to create more than others?
Yeah, it's there are so many dimensions of things that we want to impart on our kids. So one of the first things that I saw was like, oh my God, there's actually like, dozens upon dozens of values and skills. So there's no shortage of things to be done with our kids.
Right.
So that's good. I mean, that's good from a business perspective, that there's like a lot that we can help guide parents on. From a parenting perspective, it can be overwhelming. I think that the area that I started with was really around the values, because that's what I heard parents talk about. Gratitude was a big one. So I've heard a lot of parents, they want to ensure that their kids, they may be growing up with all the things that they need. They don't want their kids to grow up spoiled. So how, especially now, like in holiday season, like that's something that's been coming up a bunch.
Yeah.
um, Financial responsibility. So we have another monthly guide around what we call money matters. So that's all about helping kids understand the value of a dollar. How is it earned? How can you spend and save it? So that's been an interesting one, because I think folks realize like this is not being taught in school. It's up to me as a parent to do it.
Mhm.
Um, and then the third one that has been actually bubbling up, which was an interesting one, and I didn't necessarily think about it on the offset, was around community. And I think that ties back to maybe a lack of community that a lot of parents feel, but they want to ensure that their kids understand that there are these bubbles of community, and how can we help our kids understand like what community means and how they can be helpful to their community as well as they grow up. So those are the few of the ones that I've started with, but then it's all like personalized. So it depends what the family cares about. and where they want to start their journey. So there's not like one single path that you have to follow.
Do you have any thoughts on why some of these skills are not taught in school?
Um, I empathize and I understand like what schools, the challenges that they have, right? They have standards that are set at the, state level of things that they must impart and the things that they must focus their time on. And again, a lot of those go back to hard skills. Um, I also understand that schools have adapted. So a lot of schools have incorporated social emotional learning, which is often very emotion centric. Um, Again, I think it's great that they've incorporated that. But then adding the next layer of values and skills, practical life skills, I think there's just no capacity in elementary schools to continue to add on more. I think it's funny when you look back on like, I don't know when it stopped, but probably like in the 50s and 60s, they had home ec and they had woodworking. They had a lot of these like car shop, like they had these kind of skills that they taught in high schools. And then that all like disappeared and went away because there were
Yeah.
other things that had to fill that space, right? Well, now in high schools, they'll have coding classes, they'll have other things that didn't exist at that time, which is fantastic. But
Yeah.
there's just a limit. There's a limit of what schools can teach their kids. And as a result, that falls on us as parents.
But maybe we don't need to teach Ignatius rocks and a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and instead we should be teaching money habits and understanding gratitude and relational issues as well.
I hear you. I think the problem is that schools adapt slowly. At least when I look at public schools, right? I think there's a lot of private schools and some charter schools that are doing some different things, but public schools change slowly. There's a lot of layers, approvals, things like that. But maybe there's a future for parent to come into these schools and help with that curriculum one day too.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. And yeah, I'm not here to slag on the school system. My wife is a superintendent of a charter school,
There
so
she is. Okay.
yeah, so I'm pro school, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, this is something that I hear a lot on my show and just in my life. Like these are all the skills that we're not taught in school, and then it is important for the parent to teach them. But that's a lot of responsibility for the parent. B, what if the parent isn't good at those skills in the first place?
Right.
They weren't taught them in school, so they might not know how and when to teach them either, right? Which I guess is where you're kind of coming in.
Exactly. So it's like that's what I hear from parents. It's like I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do. I don't have the bandwidth to figure all of that out. Like, what should I do and when? So, providing that guidance and support. That's really our mission. Is like just to help bring that structure to parenting and simplify it along the way.
Okay, so let's take a skill. Like let's say I want my kid to be more helpful
Sure.
and less selfish. More helpful, less selfish. So how would you build that an experience to cultivate that?
Yeah, I love the question. Um, I love that you said skill because these are things that require practice. And so none of these aspects, whether it's, being helpful, like this needs to be reinforced through a lot of different dimensions. Because again, kids learn differently. Sometimes they're paying attention, sometimes their mind may be elsewhere, or they need to experience things through different dimensions as well. So in our plan, we help provide that. So we provide that opportunity to model and discuss and interact with helpfulness in different ways. So it'll be, first of all, through conversation. And it's how can you fill that time that you already have with your kids? So you might have 5 minutes over bedtime or 10 minutes over dinner time or in the car. So we provide a set of conversations, like guided conversations with follow up that tie back to being helpful. So, and some of them will be really creative and fun. So I would know that, oh, your kid really likes um, Bluey. So there could be a conversation starter around like, how has Bluey been helpful, in his family today? So like there would be like a conversation that's tied back to the kid's interests.
Yeah.
And the second part is really around like doing and interacting. So we provide play-based examples to demonstrate helpfulness. So it could be crafts or drawing, something that doesn't require a lot of supplies, but drawing a scene of a friend being helpful in school, or it could be a game, like a charades based game. Or it could be even something getting outside and doing something more physical. So we'll provide those examples
Mhm.
couple of weeks. So it's not overwhelming that your child could pick it. You can do it together. You could do it as a family. And some they could even do independently and you could check in on it later. And then the third one is really that experience based. So we would design a parent child date that you could do in any city that again ties back to being helpful. So in this instance, like it could be creating kits for homeless folks in your area. So we would provide the list of things to buy from Target, how to create the bags, do something fun together, and then actually like, deliver them out in the community. Some may be smaller. It could be like going to your local fire station and writing thank you cards to the folks that are working there. So we provide that experiential parent, mom or dad date idea as well. And then on the other side, so like that's all like the experience is all provided in a physical booklet. So the kid looks forward to getting something in the mail. They can actually flip through and read all the material and see all the photos and the pictures. And then we help hold the parent accountable digitally. So that's all through text, ensuring like that they're actually doing those set of activities. What's the feedback? How is their kid actually engaging with it? And then we can take that and improve the experience every month going forward.
That's interesting. I didn't hear anything about incentives or reward. Is that part of it, or is that purposely not part of it? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. And yeah, there's like a lot of controversy around awards, right? You can read a blog that has like every different perspective on that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, and I come from the employee health space where
yeah,
incentive design is a big hot topic, and the carrot and the stick, and you shouldn't have to pay people to get healthy.
yeah,
But we also know that they do work. Incentives do drive behavior.
totally.
So yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Totally. So I'm probably, kind of midway in the camp. Like I don't think that, that kids should receive excessive praise for different things, but also like, recognize your kid when they're doing a good job with something. Like that definitely motivates and drives their behaviors. They want
Right.
that recognition from their parents. Like that means a lot for them. And so currently right now, the way we've designed it is like for every customer, we send you a poster where the kids can actually track their progress against learning any one of these skills. And our mascot is a little puffin, Pebble the Puffin. So they can actually use that sticker to like mark off like which skills they've completed. So that's like one way for them to feel motivated to like reward themselves with something that's like not like too significant, if that makes sense.
Candy.
With candy,
Yeah.
exactly. So like that's what we've done today, but like that could evolve, right?
Yeah.
I have to see like where our kids, like where are they maybe not, where could they use some a little bit more motivation and encouragement along some of these areas, and some of it may just be providing the parent guidance on the other end. Um, a lot of kids love that attention from their parents. They love getting that quality time. So that I
Yeah.
personally believe like that is a reward in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean that's one big way kids are different from adults, right? Like kids are motivated just by that or by like a sticker, and
Yeah,
adults you have to pay adults like $500 to go to the doctor and stuff like that. So
totally.
that's good. What other learnings have you found so far in the experience, both with the original, the dad ventures, and then the new
Yeah.
experiences that you've been doing? What are some of like the key takeaways you found?
I think one is that parents are looking for help and support. That there's a tremendous number of like problems, small, medium, and large that parents are dealing with. There are so many different ways that people can come in and help parents. So like that's one area. I think second, being a technologist and having worked in tech, I came into this with the mindset that I am going to build an app or a site or like something tech based to help solve this problem.
Yeah.
What I've actually learned is that parents are overwhelmed with apps, that they don't necessarily just like need another app. And that there is something to be said of like a physical product and a physical good in the space where a lot of parents are trying to be more and more device free and intentional with their time and their mind space. So that's been an interesting learning for me for sure. And then I think the other thing that I've learned is, and kind of why I started with the dad venture side was that like a lot of dads are honestly completely ignored by brands who are building for parents. Like
Yeah.
pretty much all of them are building for moms first.
Mhm.
There is really an opportunity with dads, and that's why I started there. I think this new evolution of our Thrive Guide product is something that's not just for dads; it's for all parents. But I have really been building with dads at the core and using them as that foundation for who am I building for.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, those are some of the things I've learned a lot from this podcast as well, is that parents don't, well, whether they're doing a good job or not, parents don't feel like they're doing a good job, or they feel like they don't know what they're doing a lot of the time.
Yeah,
Right. I think that that's a big one. And totally, there's not as many resources for dads as for moms. If be curious to get your thought on that, because
yeah.
I've given some talks now as well, and as somebody who has like more of a lead dad role, just because my job is more flexible than my wife's, well, my
Hmm.
wife's, um, I don't want it to come across as like, oh, like the patriarchy, like coming back, like the men taking it over, like taking the one thing that women had right back from them, is like it's hard for us too. But so
Yeah.
how do you think that that could be addressed? You know, with some grace and some care.
Yeah, I mean every family is unique and different, right? Like there's no like one standard way that a family looks today. It's we're in a different world than we were, 30, 40 years ago. And there's so much beauty in that too.
Yeah.
And so like that was something that I found out honestly a little bit hard when I was building towards dads only, because there are families like yours where maybe the mom is working more, or there's like two dads in the household, and there's others, like who's working more than the other person, that may fluctuate over time. So there's all these different scenarios,
Yeah.
and um, nobody needs to own parenting. Parenting does not need to be like a mom thing or a dad thing. If you have a child, or if you are raising a child, you may be a grandparent, you may be an aunt or an uncle. If you are raising a child, like you are a parent. Like that's how I view it.
Yeah.
And some folks just may need more support than others, in different capacities, right? Like if you're the one who's like the breadwinner and you're traveling 5 days a week and you're rarely ever home, you still need support as a parent, but it's going to look different than your partner who may be home and like kind of like leading the grunt work on the day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel about this show as well. Like I'm trying to really just be there for parents, not necessarily like for dads or for moms, because I think that it really depends on the situation. And I don't want it to like be like, oh, like it's harder for dads because there's not as many resources. I don't think that that's true, but it's a different experience. And I think both experiences obviously are important to support.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we're going to move into the final segment called Sheena's Advice Corner. So I'm going to ask you for some
All right,
advice on a few topics. Okay, you ready?
let's do it.
What is your best advice for a busy working parent?
I would say, just like you schedule anything that you do at work, you schedule your meetings, you schedule your QBRs, you schedule your board meetings, do the same thing for your family time too. So schedule in those important moments. Get in a monthly parent child date with each of your kids and get that on the calendar and hold yourself accountable to doing it. Schedule in family game nights. Schedule in an annual planning session to get your family life together at the beginning of the year. And we're coming into January soon. There's no better time to do some of that. So my advice would really be to, as much as you can, think about your parenting as a job and bring some of those structures that you're so used to in your work life into your family life.
What advice do you have for self care?
I would say there are things that you love doing even before you were a parent. For me, it was yoga, it was travel. Um, don't forget about those things once you become a parent. Make sure you carve out that time to do it. And if you can, start exposing your kid to those hobbies and those interests and those things that bring you so much happiness and joy. They may start loving it too. And then, like, how cool is that if you can like both go to a yoga class together, or you can, both enjoy watching sports together, whatever it may be. They may not love your same hobby, like that's TBD. But don't forget about those things that bring you so much joy and happiness, which can be easy to do. Like we tend to put everybody before ourselves.
Hmm. What advice do you have for someone who is about to be a parent but still has a career that they want to focus on?
It's never the quote unquote right time. Just like if you get promoted, you're going to take on additional responsibility and it may never feel like the right time, but what a wonderful opportunity it is that is in front of you. I look at parenting and becoming a parent in the same way. That yes, there is a tremendous amount of responsibility. If you have the financial means, go for it, because um, you will craft your lifestyle. You will craft the jobs that you accept, all around this new life that you're creating with this other human being. Um, the joys that I have, like the best memories that I have, like they're all like with my kids. They're all with this like new, like this family that we're building together. That my partner and I are building together. So uh, I don't want to say that you'll never regret it, but I really don't think you will.
Hope not. What advice you have for someone who's just right now they're listening and they just feel like they're not doing a good job as a parent?
First of all, I would say get off social media, because that is likely a big source of your pain. That's likely a big place where some of that FOMO or that guilt is coming from. So get off of that, first of all. Second would be to find a friend or another parent that is kind of maybe in a similar stage, or maybe a couple stages ahead of where you are. That would be even better. Um, Go get some time with that friend. Meet up for coffee once a month. Just chat with them on the phone. Send them some text messages. Sometimes you just need somebody else that's in your corner, that's not in your family, because you end up just like kind of again going down this rabbit hole and encompassing yourself with things that are not actually true. You're likely doing a fantastic job as a parent, and you might just need a little support. And the last thing that I'd say is a lot of parts of parenting that I've experienced so far are a phase, and it may feel so hard when you're going through some of the toddler years, some of the the early childhood years. Like they're really tough, and it will change in another 1 year, another 2 years. It's going to be totally different. You'll be dealing with a whole different set of situations, good and bad. But just know that, and try to enjoy the moments that you can.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
I remember when I was working at LinkedIn, my boss at that time, and sorry, this was before I had kids. Um, he used to take his daughter on a daddy and me date almost every weekend, or a lot of weekends of the year, and they would go for tea in the Ferry Building in San Francisco. And I thought that was so special and so cute, because I never had anything like that with either of my parents growing up.
Yeah.
Definitely not with my dad. And that is something that really stuck with me, because that was many years before I had kids. And I still remember that today. And I would say it's probably inspiration for even starting parent too, which he doesn't even know. So
Well, maybe he's listening
getting,
now and he knows.
exactly. So getting that quality time, and we talked about this earlier, like scheduling it in. There's
Yeah.
nothing like connecting one on one. Family time is great, but that one on one is so special.
What advice do you have for your former self? Or what advice would you give to your former self?
Um, I think I think the advice that I would give my former self would be to lean on other folks. People are there and they want to help you and they want to support you. I think I tried to do everything by myself, and that takes a toll. So that would be my advice. Like people are there for you, especially when you have an infant, a newborn, even as they grow up. Lean on your community, your neighbors, as much as you can. They're there for you.
All right, last question. When the show comes out, I think my daughter will be about 19 months old, maybe 20 months old. So, what advice do you have for me as a father of a 19, 20-month old daughter?
Get down on the floor and play with her. Do whatever she wants to do. If she wants to dress up dolls, if she wants to put makeup on your face, like just do all those silly things with her, because when she's a teen, those moments are going to be gone. So just play and pretend you're a toddler right along with her.
Okay, love that one. All right, Sheena, well, this has been a great conversation. Where can people go to connect with you or learn more about you? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'm happy to connect with folks on LinkedIn. You can find me, Sheena Badani. You can also find Parent on Instagram and LinkedIn, Parent at Parent app. Maybe we can put some of that stuff in the notes too. Happy to send the links over.
Yeah, I'll link that in the show notes. It's Parent, Parint.
Yep, you got it.
So just like for logistically, if we were to do an experience, am I getting emails from Parent, or how am I actually receiving the info?
So the information from Parent is twofold. One, you get a physical booklet
Oh, okay.
because you're sitting here and can show. So you actually get like a physical booklet that you do alongside with your kid that has all the information in it,
Oh, great.
and then you get text to keep you on track as a parent, and that's how it
Gotcha.
works.
Awesome. Well, I'll link to all that in the show notes. Parent, check it out, everybody. Sheena Badani, ladies and gentlemen. Sheena, thank you so much.
Thank you.